tonight.
Kindergartens are available and accessible, but they are only accessible as a part-time option.
Parents frustrated by the lack of all-day, everyday kindergarten programs in the province. An infestation is jeopardizing the wild rice harvest in northern Saskatchewan. Plus, MPs return to Ottawa for the fall sitting.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
And the last day of the season for Wascana Pool in Regina. The CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. We begin tonight in Saskatoon, where we're hearing about a key admission at the second-degree murder trial that began today. Thomas Hamp is accused of killing his girlfriend in February of 2022. He admitted this morning that he fatally stabbed Emily Sanch. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
Thomas Hamp never denied that he fatally stabbed his girlfriend Emily Sanch. The question is whether he's criminally responsible for what happened in their Saskatoon apartment 2 years ago. The defense is arguing that he's not responsible because of significant mental health issues. Over the next 2 weeks, the Crown and defense will call experts who will speak to his state of mind that February morning. Now, we've reported earlier that both Thomas's parents and Emily tried repeatedly to get psychiatric help for Hamp in the months leading up to Emily's death. In an agreed statement of facts, Thomas Hamp says he stabbed Emily Sanch once in the chest, then he stabbed himself. Now, he initially told police that they had been attacked by an intruder, but he now says that's not so. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Police have identified the 3 men who were killed in Lloydminster last week. A father and his 2 adult sons were the victims of the triple homicide. 34-year-old Brennan Peters, 32-year-old Matthew Peters, and their father, 66-year-old Brent Peters, were found dead last Thursday. Their bodies were discovered in a home after Mounties were called to conduct a wellness check. RCMP named them for the first time today. The Alberta Major Crimes Unit is leading the investigation. RCMP have described the killings as targeted and isolated, and they say investigators are committed to solving the case. Police stress that there is no ongoing risk to public safety. They're urging anyone with information on the crime to come forward. The provincial government is hoping to improve literacy outcomes for kids in Saskatchewan with a new pilot program. The pilot partners Prairie Spirit School Division with an independent school called Roadways Literacy. But the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation is condemning it as a move toward privatization. STF President Samantha Beacott says taxpayer money is being siphoned from the public system. Beacott says over the last 5 school years, funding to independent schools has increased by 79%. But over the same time period, she says funding for public schools has only gone up 13%.
We have seen cuts year after year to our public education systems within Saskatchewan and more focus on that private education. And it is really concerning to see because not everyone has access to those private systems. And when we're talking about taxpayer dollars, we need to make sure that we're supporting every student across Saskatchewan, not just those privileged few.
But Education Minister Jeremy Cockrell says this program will improve student success. He calls it disappointing that the STF would, quote, choose to politicize the initiative. Some parents in Saskatchewan are frustrated by the lack of everyday kindergarten programs in our province. About 24 schools in Saskatoon are now offering the option, but it's not enough to meet demand. Helena Mahalik reports.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Kindergartners at Forest Grove School are learning their days of the week. Fitting, since they go to school every day from Monday to Friday, an opportunity many kids in the province don't have. Like Nancy Broughton's 5-year-old son, everyday kindergarten programs aren't publicly funded in Saskatchewan, meaning kids go every other day. She doesn't think it's enough to prepare her son for grade 1.
Say you missed a day of school. That means a day in the week. Then you only went to school once in the week. Is that okay for our 5-year-olds?
that doesn't make them ready for grade 1.
25 schools across Saskatoon now offer Monday to Friday kindergarten. Funding for those programs is community-based and comes from campaigning by groups like the Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation.
Having opportunities like a full-day, everyday program gives parents consistency, it gives kids consistency, stability, like I said, the confidence and just basic literacy. Like that's what it comes down to.
Broughton has been trying to enroll her son Joseph into full-time kindergarten with no luck. There are long wait lists, and the program considers certain factors, such as a family's proximity to a school and the child's academic needs.
But I still found myself on the brink of tears when I was calling to get him into full-time. My child has hearing loss, and I think that a classroom rich with literacy and routine and books and social development would be so good for him and for his hearing and also just for his life.
Some kindergarten teachers say an everyday program is challenging, but helps with literacy and social development.
They definitely come in with more challenges at the beginning. You know, saying goodbye to mom and dad is always more difficult, and kind of getting used to waking up every morning and having to go to school, and, you know, lasting the whole day.
The Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation has raised more than $20 million for education programs, including everyday kindergarten. The foundation says they can't keep funding it forever and is calling for everyday kindergarten to be publicly funded. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The NDP is offering a startup loan for small businesses. It's the latest campaign promise from the party. Leader Carla Beck and jobs and economy critic Alina Young made the announcement. The NDP says entrepreneurs with up to 10 employees can apply for a loan of up to $40,000. The NDP has provided criteria for eligibility. It includes the business using the money to buy or improve land or buildings. The program would be capped at $5 million. Beck hopes the incentive would spark people to launch their small businesses.
So this is about opening up access for new entrepreneurs in the province to have up to $40,000 in a loan, up to 25% of that being forgivable, to encourage, as I said, people to take those ideas that we know are out there, small business or would-be entrepreneurs in the province who are just looking for a signal that this is the right time for them to go ahead and start that business.
The provincial government provided a statement in response. It says it has a record of helping small business. It says an example is the Saskatchewan Indigenous Investment Finance Corporation. A quintet of provincial politicians met in Saskatoon this afternoon to sell their platforms to Saskatchewan seniors. It was a part of a provincial election town hall held by the Saskatoon Council on Aging and the National Association of Federal Retirees. Of the 7 registered political parties, 5 representatives showed up. The Buffalo Party, the NDP, Progressive Conservative Party, the Green Party, and the Saskatchewan Party. The people spoke to nearly 200 about issues like healthcare, surgery wait times, care homes, and housing.
We've heard lots about homelessness and people that are in need, and I think that is very, very important, certainly not only in our province, but in our country. As a child, I grew up at a time when I felt very, very secure. So I am concerned about those who do not feel secure.
Given the turnout, the Saskatoon Council on Aging says it is planning on doing the same for the municipal election. The provincial election is set to be on or before October 28th. The municipal elections will run November 13th. For some people, owning a home feels really out of reach, but today, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the province, the City of Regina, and housing corporation Silver Sage to improve the odds. Their goal is to increase affordable housing options in north central Regina and to revitalize the area. To start, the Saskatchewan Housing Corporation will transfer up to 10 of its own family units to Silver Sage. The company will administer and support a rent-to-own and rent-to-equity programs in North Central. Who will be eligible and how they'd apply is still being ironed out.
This can be turned over pretty quickly, I think, and so not an exact date, and of course every unit will be different, every family will be different who wants to come forward. But obviously sooner and later, and we want to see people housed, obviously, and working towards home ownership.
The goal is ownership in 15 years, or an equity pullout in 10. We want to stabilize the neighborhood. We'd like more people living. We don't want the vacant properties. We want people living here. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
It's hoped the first unit will be up and running within 3 months. Mikowski says the government will help pay for upgrades and repairs to get things moving, but didn't have an exact dollar amount. He also said he'd be open to a second round of housing transfers over to Silver Sage. It's expected the initiative will grow over time. Some wild rice crops in northern Saskatchewan have been devastated by unidentified pests. Producers say they've never seen anything like it, and a research team is calling for emergency action to stop the infestation. As Moira Whiten reports, some farmers say it's already too late for this year's crop.
If you look closely, you can see the worm-like creatures, still unidentified but clearly hungry pests, leaving behind empty kernels and damaged stalks. Wild rice harvesters near Lac La Ronge say their crops have been devastated.
When we go out, like we picked yesterday, tried picking whatever's left. We didn't really, we struggled to get 10 bags of rice, which are 50-pound bags. And normally we average about 300 at the most 800 bags. So barely we got 10 yesterday. And just the rice plant is just empty.
The longtime farmer says she has seen some pests before, but never anything like this.
There's quite a few people that will be out of jobs, quite a few families that won't be able to, cover themselves financially, I guess, with all the expenses that we have.
A University of Saskatchewan research team in the area says the crops were already under stress from wildfire smoke and other climate factors.
That seems to coincide with the appearance of these things. And so, yeah, water levels are down this year very significantly, and so, what's happening, right? And so it's truly is kind of an environmental story.
The researchers say protecting wild rice is important, both culturally and economically. They're proposing an urgent study to stop the infestation.
People rely upon this, and this year it's gone, right? And then so it's significant loss of economic autonomy, right?
The Ministry of Agriculture says it's working to identify the pests, which it says could be a type of moth or rice worm. The province doesn't monitor for either insect or have a treatment available. In a statement, the ministry says that while there are products registered to control wild rice worm in wild rice, this is organic production in natural aquatic systems, and there are no products registered to control these species in this context. The last significant outbreak of rice worm was 24 years ago. The province's crop insurance is available, but solutions to protect the crops in the future remain unclear. Moira Whiten, CBC News.
Hundreds of people turned out for Saskatoon's 44th annual Terry Fox Run on Sunday, one of thousands across the country raising money for cancer research. It was held at the Delta Besborough Gardens and raised more than $40,000 for the Terry Fox Foundation, adding to the $900 million raised by the foundation since the Marathon of Hope began in 1980. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. After a bye week of rest and hopefully some regeneration, the Saskatchewan Roughriders were back to practice today. The green and white are hoping to bust out of a 7-game winless streak. Then they've added some depth at running back, signing American Rykel Armstead. Armstead started the season with the Red Blacks and comes with an NFL background, having played with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2019. He'll back up Frankie Hickson as AJ Ouellette continues to heal.
I just hope to, come in and just do my job, whatever that is, whatever they ask. I can hit the home run, I can bring power, I can catch it. I can do everything. So for me, I'm just, going to wait my time. I'm going to continue to absorb from, him and let him thrive. I'm not here to take over. I'm not here to, I'm just here to bring competition and just help these guys win.
He's a pretty dang good back, but our system isn't really the easiest to pick up. So right now, just depth piece. But certainly, can he help us, going down the road? Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it enough in the league, his time in the league. But first and foremost, you got to know where to go, what to do. So we'll start there.
May says they are expecting Ouellette to make a return at some point this season. The Green and White will be in Calgary for their Week 16 matchup. The Stampeders are in the basement of the West at 4-8-1, just 2 points behind the Riders. Game time is 7:30 Friday night.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Employee pricing is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. My goodness, the Riders had a perfect day to return to practice. Was it ever nice out today?
Yeah, gorgeous weather, kind of building off of what we had over the weekend with those really warm temperatures in parts of the province. And yeah, today getting even warmer than that in some spots. Cornack, you were one of the places that hit 30 degrees today. Most of the rest of us through south and central getting into those mid to upper 20s. And even in central Saskatchewan, a banner day today, low 20s, just a bit above seasonal. And you actually had to factor in a little bit of a humidex factor if you were in southeastern Saskatchewan. Regina, we got to 33 on the humidex scale. That is the 6th day this month that we have been over 30 with the humidex. And in a normal September, we only see 2 days, and not very often we see over 30 this late into the month. Now, this muggy air mass all coming in advance of some pretty unsettled weather over the next couple of days here, and I think it starts in the wee hours of tomorrow morning, 3-4 a.m. We're watching these cells develop in west central Saskatchewan and moving into the Saskatoon area. That kind of keeps going through central Saskatchewan through the morning hours. That clears out and it makes way for a possible severe weather threat as the front from a low pressure system begins to move in tomorrow afternoon and evening through southern Saskatchewan. Pockets of heavy rain here. This turns into bands of moisture that continue to move through the province through the next couple of days. So Regina and the south, still by Wednesday morning, I think we have some heavy showers possible. Moving into Saskatoon and central Saskatchewan, this is when I think the rain is going to be heaviest. Southwestern Saskatchewan up through Saskatoon into east central areas Wednesday afternoon and evening. That'll kind of continue to just stay in place through then before we finally start to get some clearing by Thursday morning. Although eastern parts of the province, including Regina, we still could be getting a little bit of rain as we get into Thursday. Rainfall total is going to be hard to judge just based on where we see thunderstorms, how much rain comes from those storms, but a general pocket of maybe 30 to 70 millimeters, again, from southwest to northeast through east central Saskatchewan. Pockets of possibly over 100 millimeters of rain in less than 24 hours possible in those heavier kind of pockets that do pop up. Then the system moves into northern Saskatchewan. I think we're not looking for quite as much rain here, but could be 20 to 30 millimeters in eastern sections. Now, the severe weather threat tomorrow afternoon and evening includes Regina and much of south central and southwestern Saskatchewan. Strong winds, large hail, and if you're in this area south of the Black Line, including Assiniboia, Gravelbourg, there is the risk of an isolated tornado or two. So we will have to keep an eye out for severe storms there. So for Regina, again, that risk continues into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Look at that overnight low, 18 degrees, very warm into Wednesday. Again, a general 5 to maybe 15 millimeters I put on there with the chance of some more showers on Thursday. Saskatoon, I'm going to call it maybe 30 plus millimeters for Wednesday, just initially here before things start to clear out later in the day on Thursday, returning to more seasonal weather and less eventful weather for the weekend, Sam.
Remember last week when you took credit for the nice weather?
Oh, yeah, I guess this one's on me, hey?
Thanks,
Darn.
Ethan.
You're welcome.
A really special day in Fort Qu'Appelle on Sunday. Hundreds of people, including chiefs and dignitaries, gathered to mark the milestone of the 150th anniversary of the signing of Treaty 4. That treaty was signed September 15, 1874, established by Queen Victoria and the Cree and Saulteaux peoples. The week-long anniversary celebration brought in people from all over the province, and traditional powwows were also held Saturday and Sunday to mark the historic event. We'll be back after the break. The fall sitting of Parliament resumed today in Ottawa, and the minority Liberals are returning after the NDP withdrew the Supply and Confidence Agreement earlier this month.
We will work case by case, legislation by legislation, with whichever party wants to work with us. I have already been in touch with all of the House leaders in the opposition parties, and my job now is to make Parliament work for Canadians.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is vowing to force a non-confidence vote as soon as possible. Trudeau says his party's focused on its own legislative agenda, including the NDP-endorsed Pharmacare bill and the Online Harms Act. While the politicians are fighting among themselves, is there an appetite to trigger an election? We caught up with Saskatoon Conservative MP Kevin Waugh to ask his thoughts on the first day back.
Well, I'll tell you, in Saskatchewan, where I'm from, we have a provincial election late October, and we have a municipal election in mid-November. So do they want the hat trick? I doubt it. Let us get through the provincial election first, and then we'll reassess. So it's a little different in my province because we have 2 elections coming up. Do they need the third? Well, I'll leave that to the powers that be. Why would we show a plan now when we know darn well we have a plan, and that plan will be exposed once we reveal it? They'll take the good parts out of it, and there's no need for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives to show her hand. It's poker time right now.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather. How's your poker face with this forecast?
I am showing my full hand here when it comes to the weather. We are in for some rain, I can tell you that. But for tonight in Regina, mostly clear skies that we're going to start with. Tomorrow morning, we'll have some sun and some warm temperatures. That's going to kind of heat up the atmosphere and get a little more humid and ready to go for those thunderstorms, which may become severe into the afternoon. I think by the noon hour, we'll get a little bit more clearing skies. Those winds going to start to pick up as well from the southeast up to 40 kilometers an hour, bringing in that humid air mass once again. Again, some overnight showers and rain, which could be heavy at times in Saskatoon. That'll transition to just some light rain by 8 o'clock, but a much cloudier situation for Saskatoon for the day as we see that unsettled weather kind of starting things off with some light rain into the afternoon, and then the heavier showers, Sam, all that comes a little later into the evening.
If it's going to be gusty, is an umbrella even going to help me?
Probably not. Just stay inside.
Or wear a coat.
Or that.
Okay. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/SAS or /Saskatoon. Subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.